All right. So I just hit up these guys. I was talking to them. I was like, man, you guys got some great stories. So we're going to introduce Can Beats, the 90s DJ crew. First off, we got DJ MikeAwesome. Boo, 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 boo.
What's up, everyone?
Then, his video's not there, so we'll do DJ Pone. Give it up for DJ Pone. And give it up for the empty video, Neo Geo.
Yes.
And here we go. So we got two people. Oh, there you go. There you go. What's up, Neo?
My bad.
And we actually got two guests in one screen. We got DJ Rue Hefner, and our special guest is the Carrion Kid.
What's going on, y'all? What's going on?
Oh, damn.
Sweet.
All right, so how we like to do this, obviously you guys are all DJs. Let's start off with Mike. And I guess it kind of blends with you, Pone, and Neo. So if you guys could talk about how you guys got into DJing.
Well, I'll start out for me in the 8th grade. I have a friend named Gerald who we used to kick it at his house, and then one day he told me, "Hey, check out what my dad got." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And then he showed me downstairs. He saw like, this is DJ equipment. And I had like 2 turntables, a Newmark mixer, and like I didn't know what it was at first. I mean, I had a turntable. My dad had a turntable and like one of those radio towers you had when like in the 80s, like those big cabinets full of like a turntable, a cassette player, and a processor and everything. And I was wondering why there were 2 turntables. So he showed me how it worked, and then we put some vinyl on. I think my first record I put on there was Paris, Break the Grip of Shame, and I was so intrigued by the sampler, and that's all I did for like that one day was mess with the sampler and getting all these like little sounds on there. But it took off from there, and then in 1990 I moved to Fairfield. We all have this friend, well, kind of my cousin Emil, and that's how I met Pone and the rest of the Can Beats crew, and then Neil after during high school. That's how Can Beats started. We all met around Can Beats formed around 1992. The rest is history. I believe the 2 other guys can fill in the gaps.
I'll spare the long story and just say that I was really interested growing up in the 80s, just watching scratch DJs and stuff like on Yo MTV Raps and everything. I lived in Fairfield, California area, so it wasn't that close to like the heart of the there was really a really booming Bay Area DJ scene. You know, if you read Legion of Boom and that book and you know all about it. But 707 Fairfield's like at the fringe of the Bay Area, not really close to that. But when MikeAwesome moved to town and met him, he kind of introduced me to that world. And again, got to thank MikeAwesome for linking us into that world and teaching me how to DJ at the beginning. Yeah.
I met Can Beats like a couple years later. It was probably my sophomore year. Freshman year, I just moved to Fairfield from Wyoming, actually. My dad was in the Air Force, so I'm an Air Force brat. And then I started hanging out with these guys, and we went to a house party in Vallejo. And, you know, there's the girls, of course. We're checking out the girls. And then there's the DJ, and we're like, whoa, what is this? We saw them, you know, move in the crowd, and it was a crew called ESP. There were a lot of ESPs back then, but I believe it was like Exquisite. I'm not sure which one it was, but they were based in Vallejo. And so after that, my friend Emil Soriano, he picked up, his dad picked up some turntables, I believe from Good Guys, if you guys remember Good Guys. And then after that, we linked up with a couple other people, started DJing, formed a crew called Down for Sound. And then, you know, like a year later, kind of had a falling out and just and started hanging out with these guys around times. Was adopted by Can Beats, and yeah, there you go.
Awesome. So now let's have the OGs talk about their start. Whoever wants to start, Rue or Anthony.
All right, I'll start. My career didn't start until 86. I was at a junior high dance, and Rock Along was DJing it, because their younger siblings actually I went to school with. So they were like, okay, we'll DJ your junior high school dance. And the elaborate setups, the turntables, the mixing, the scratching, and all that stuff. I was like, I want to do this, but I didn't know how until I actually got into my freshman year in high school. Then I hooked up with my boys Derek B, who went to Benicia High School. I went to St. Pat's, and I hooked up with my boy Roy Panaris, who knew Derek, and we formed Creative Exposure. Saved up our money. I mean, we first started out with like 2 Fisher turntables with no pitch and a realistic mixer and a guitar amp with some guitar speakers and stuff like that. I mean, you kick the amp and it made a bell noise or something like that. That's how bad. We started from scratch. But yeah, that's pretty much how my career started. Just watching all the OGs and stuff. You know, the Rock-alongs, the Spintronics, the Style Beyond Compares and Limited Sounds. All them cats we used to fanboy and just idolize and was like, oh, we're gonna be like them one day. So yeah, that's basically how mine started. OG.
Okay, man, I'm feeling old here. I guess I've got the oldest story here. I think I started, man, I think 79 when I started DJing my parents' party. You know what it was? It was the movie Saturday Night, or what was it, Saturday Night Fever. And then after that, Filipinos just started having parties like crazy. And I was only, 15? So, my parents started having parties and they designated me as the guy that would just keep flipping the records. And it was just, one record at a time. So, you'd have to play the whole song. Then it's done. Then you got to flip to the next song. So I think that was my first experience. But then the year after that, I turned 16. You know what happens when you turn 16? You get your driver's license. And yeah, you're a free man. And we snuck into Studio West. So here's a 16-year-old sneaking into Studio West. You know how New York had Studio 54. I think Studio West was the biggest club in San Francisco at that time. It had Cameron Paul and Mickey and Alvin and all the really badass DJs. That's where they all pretty much started out at.
Yeah, rest in peace, by the way, to Cameron Paul.
Exactly. You had to get there before 9 o'clock. So there's nobody at the door. But my friends went there, me and my friends, and we kind of went there for the girls, of course. But the music started going, and I'm listening, and I'm like, oh man, listen to that. The music's just flowing nonstop. You couldn't tell going from one song to another, and it was just clean. You couldn't tell, like, oh man, this is a new song already. And then so it was just intrigued me, and I was like, man, this is crazy. So I went upstairs to the balcony, and there's this white guy there mixing, Cameron Paul. And every time we went to Studio West, I pretty much stayed upstairs and just watched Cameron, all my buddies just hounding after the girls. And then I just watched him all the time and just tried to learn from him. And I took it from there. And then I went home and borrowed my mom's Fisher turntable, and I bought a Technics SLB2. Fisher didn't have a pitch control on it, so it was kind of hard. And then I bought my first record, Kano, I'm Ready. 2 of them, and started practicing from there. Hours and hours and hours of practice. And that was it.
Cool. So man, it's so crazy just seeing like just the range of everyone, kind of how they started and everything. What about I guess what was everyone's first gig, if you guys remember?
Damn. All right, I'll start. My first gig, from what I remember, I believe it was at Benicia Clock Tower. We were DJing either a birthday party or something. It was some gathering that they wanted us young bucks to, it was cheap. We were I think $100 for the whole night at the time. And we brought our little rinky dink setup, and we thought we were jamming and stuff like that. Everybody was like, don't kick the amp or else it's going to make a funky sound, But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think that was our very first gig, and it could have been our last because we did basically, I think all of us in this chat or in this video right now has done it at least once and lifted the needle off the wrong record or moved the fader over.
Never did that.
No, because I remember I think I was the one that did it. And as soon as I did it, I dropped the needle back onto the song, not knowing where it was going to go. And I just let it bounce and let it play. And I ducked I mean, I ducked. I was like, oh shit, I did not just do that. But yeah, that was my first gig. That's why it's kind of memorable, because I made the ultimate DJ mistake at that point.
Okay. Well, my first gig, my wife MJ always likes to tease me. She always says my first gig was the Last Supper. So, you know, I hate when she says that. But anyway, now my first gig was Tea Tree in Daly City. It was a Chinese restaurant, and it was a 16th birthday, and we got paid $50, and I loved it. You know, I was like, oh man, we can get paid for having fun, partying, and doing all this stuff. And I brought two Techniques, the turntables I mentioned earlier, and then some cheapo 10-inch woofer speakers, you know, and there was like 50 people there, and we turned it out, and from there on, you know, we said, wow, we can book parties and make money. So we just kept doing it.
I think I talked about this at SIPnJAM a little while ago, about the big, like, the high school showcase party at someone's house at Rancho Solano.
Yeah, that was it.
This kind of gated neighborhood in Fairfield, California, in the hills. There's a bunch of high school kids. It was summer of '92. Mobile crews were forming in Fairfield, California with the high school kids. Down for Sound, Neil's former crew was one of them. We were invited to come. And I guess whoever threw this party just wanted it to be like a big showcase, like, you know, like the big boys were doing. But it was at a house, and they had different rooms with different DJ setups. Like I said, Canned Beats, me, MikeAwesome, we were DJing in the garage for like a bunch of like kids breaking and stuff. We thought we were cool, and they were wondering like, where are all the girls at, man? It's like, what? Just a bunch of dudes, like, you know, trying to do like flares and stuff. And so like we kind of filtered inside, and that's where all the girls were, dude. Like whoever organized this party must have knew, dude, to put us in the garage with all the breakers. I believe Down for Sound, Neil, your crew, you guys got to DJ inside, right?
I don't remember. I probably didn't.
Yeah, you did. Don't lie. No. But like many house parties at that time, it got broken up when someone called the cops.
Yeah.
And I remember just like breaking out of the house. Just it's like, we gotta go. Someone's like, cops coming. We gotta go. And so one of my friends, Gordon, was there, and I just remember like, I don't know if you remember, Mike, loading our equipment into the back of his truck and like driving off. And Neo, I believe you were in back of Gordon's truck. Like you jetted with us, dude. Like you were our friend already, but we weren't in the same DJ crew. But I believe we left the party together though, dude.
It was like a frenzy after. And I think Neo hopped in the truck.
We saved Neo from being arrested by the cops. Basically, that's why, and he became a member of our.
More dramatic every time.
I'm dramatizing it, but he did leave with us that night before the cops broke up the party, and that was our first gig, dude. Like this high school DJ showcase that got broke up by the cops, and we had to run.
All I remember was that gig, and then the graduation gig we had at the Armio grad. Casey's house.
Casey, yeah.
Where they threw everything in the pool. It's like watching a movie, like one of those college movies, and we were just living it in real life.
We were DJing a graduation party. This was another one of our first gigs. Again, it was I think that the senior class president, he decided to have a party at his house. His name was Casey, and it got too wild. Like MikeAwesome was saying, man, at one point people were just like throwing furniture, like they threw the rice cooker out the window, like
lawn chairs.
Yeah.
Someone was on the balcony urinating in the pool.
The sofa ended up in the pool.
Yeah.
The sofa probably did end up in the pool.
And I remember we were loading up after the gig, and I was like, what the heck is this? We found a shower head like in the back of like my truck, and someone had like stolen the shower head and turned it into like a pipe, because it totally smelled like weed.
We were introduced to a Pantera and like the pit and how they danced in the pit.
That's right. That was when the party was getting wild. Someone asked us to play this CD, and we DJ'd off of turntables, but we happened to have the CD player on us just in case anyone had any requests. And for those of you who are down with like hard, like Slayer like speed heavy metal, dude. Like someone gave us this Pantera CD and we didn't know it was on it, and we played the Pantera CD.
And then the dance floor cleared, and all the football players, big ass football players, started going around in a circle around the dance floor. And then when the music hit, they started jumping on top of each other, throwing beers around. I was worried for our equipment at that time. Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
But luckily, no one called the cops on this party, and so we got to DJ till the end.
The crazy thing is the parents were upstairs the whole time.
Yeah.
They let their son have this party that went buck wild and just stayed upstairs and just let him have his free-for-all.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So those were like our first couple of gigs, dude. Like first running from the cops, and then just like mayhem, man. And then I guess that's when we decided this is what we really wanted to do.
You got all parties there. Mayhem.
Yeah.
We want more of those parties.
You guys have read the book or even partook in this era of 80s, 90s mobile DJing. Rue and Anthony, at the time, I'm sure it was just like any other day for you guys. But if you now reflecting back, if you can look back on it, and then for you guys, Mike, Pone, and Neo, if you guys can kind of, I'm sure you guys kind of knew of them a little bit, like once you started getting into DJing, if you can kind of talk about like being outside of that era, but then kind of experiencing it a little bit. So Anthony, if you want to start, or Rue, either or.
Well, for me, I was more into the late 80s, early 90s part of that whole scene. Referring to the book, we basically modeled ourselves after the Unlimited Sounds, the Brockalongs, the Spintronics, and stuff like that. We wanted the same gear that they had, the Cosmo balls, the multi-headed helicopters, the truss that went across the whole dance floor. We basically attended parties that they were DJing at, and we were like, okay, I want that, I want that, I want that. We need to get this, and this. And for us, it was a whole part of basically what it is today. Nowadays, we're more showmen than anything else. The game has changed nowadays. It's more show, as you can see some of the other DJs that are out there doing weddings and corporate parties and stuff like that. Even nightclubs, it's more of a show now. But us back in the day, that was a staple. That we set that tone for what it is today. It's just now it's a lot easier. Things are a lot lighter. You don't have to carry 200-pound amp racks, 50, 60-pound coffins with turntables and a mixer on it. That was what it was for us. We just basically wanted to emulate all the other popular DJs that were out there. Now, Anthony, on the other hand, he started before vinyl was even, invented.
There you go again. Hey. No, well, hey, my first light, man, I remember we DJ'd Broadmoor. I don't know if you guys know where Broadmoor Village is. It's next to Daly City, but we DJ'd this hall there. And it was like the first time we bought a strobe light. And that was our only light that we had in this hall, and we had the strobe light on all night long. and people were dancing, and it was crazy, and it was packed. And like I think the capacity is like 50 people, but like in my mind, it felt like there was like 1,000 people in there. But no, yeah, back in the day, it was just just totally different from today as it was back then.
Yeah, it was back then you needed 10, 12 people roading with you just to help you bring in your earthquakes, your PVs, and your amps and stuff. Now you can just put that in
your backpack.
In your backpack, and go to a gig in a Scion with one speaker and your controller. You know what I mean? But back then it was just like you had to have people to help you set up, and it was technical too, because you also had to have people that knew how to hook up the sound properly. If you were just using 1 amp or 2 amps or at the most 3 amps with an equalizer and what was that other one? Not the compressor, but it was
DBX. No.
Yeah, it's something like that, where it split
Exciter.
everything.
No.
Yeah, and from there you had to have an electrician to set up your lights. They didn't have sound active things, so you either invented a switch panel where you had one guy specifically, okay, flip this light on now, and have it go to the beat and stuff like that. But yeah, it's changed.
And you had to build your own stuff.
Yeah. I've heard of other DJs like robbing police cars just so they can get their little the real beacons.
Oh yeah,
No, for real.
That's how it was.
That's how it was.
Hey, that was the DJ lights back then.
Yeah,
when we first started. I'm not gonna say we stole, but we borrowed some lights, and yeah, we went to the Daly City yard one time, and we borrowed some lights, and you need to hook up like a 12-volt battery to it to make it work. And that's what you would see at these parties, stolen police beacons and utility lights, and like I said, strobe lights.
And some people I knew actually made par lights out of coffee cans. They drilled a hole in the back, and that was your par light, and flip the switches on and off so it goes to the beat.
And I remember we made our own light box controller, and if you open it up, if you stick your hand in there, you get electrocuted. And I've been electrocuted. My guys have been electrocuted, and thank God we're not in the Philippines, because I'd probably be dead right now, with the 240. No, I made it. It was toggle switches, and I learned to become an electrician. We would roll like 20, 30 deep, and everybody would just carry something, and that's how we showed up at the gig. We had one gig one time. It was like a block away from my house. It was a Coma Middle School, and we just wheeled all our equipment down the street to the school, and you just see like 10 guys bringing equipment to the school and setting up. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, there's a lot of stories back then.
Yeah. A ton.
Yeah. Please share more. No, that's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, no, it's crazy because definitely if you look at those old rosters and you just see like the pictures like you see here, it's just like there's crews and crews. So yeah, it makes sense why you guys have like an electrician. And so yeah, on that, do any of the people in your crew, former crews, are any of them like actual electricians now, or are they actually doing stuff that they actually did?
Nah, actually, we embrace the technology. Yeah. I'm still old school. I'd still love to rock the 12s, the 1200s and stuff like that. But to me, it's more of I've earned my stripes carrying the 200-pound amp racks and stuff like that. That's why it's like, you guys can have the 1200s. I'll stick with my controller and stuff like that. Look, I'm trying to do a gig and set up in 15 minutes and break down in 15 minutes. So now it's just like, I don't know about Anthony, but I embrace the technology because of the fact that, hell, you can just DJ it from your laptop now, and you don't even need a controller anymore. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, the DDJ, it saved my back there, because for a while there was carrying the turntables and had a big coffin, and oh man, that was hard, especially as a 1-man or 2-man crew, but back then, like I said, you had everybody carrying one piece of equipment. But today, like we said, it's just a 1-man, 2-man crew, and everything's a lot lighter. Your speakers are already powered, and back then you'd have to bring the freaking amp rack, and you carry like 3 or 4 amps, and no, it's much easier today for most DJs.
Yeah, eight different cars, because only one car could hold the amp rack, and the other car would have to hold the coffin. And then, don't forget, you needed 2 or 3 cars to bring your record crates.
Yeah, exactly.
No one had van conversions?
Yeah, those were the ones. Those were the ones that were holding all the big stuff.
Damn,
the records and stuff were ones of the smaller cars.
Yeah.
Now, for the small gigs, I was using my grandfather's Ford Granada, but when we had the big gigs, we'd actually rent a van, and it was kind of crazy because after the gigs, we'd head off to Bravo's Pizza or Denny's over in Serramonte.
Yep, Denny's.
And everybody would just jump in the van, and it's an empty cargo van, and we'd go for this thing called a van ride, and there'd be like 10, 15 guys in the van, and it's empty. And I'd go around the block on my house, and I'd slam on the brakes and then hit the gas. So you see everybody go flying. We go left to right, and everybody's getting all crazy, throwing all over the place in the van, and everybody was just like have fun. And after the ride, like you'd see people coming out with bloody, blood on themselves, but everybody was still laughing and having a good time. So it was just that kind of thing,
Compared doing gigs back then and doing them now, who still spins as a crew? We still do it. I know Neil, me, sometimes Pone. We do gigs by ourselves sometimes, but there's not a lot of crews that still spin gigs as a whole crew. You just see like one-man shows, and that's how the technology has kind of evolved. Like one person can do everything. Back then, I don't know, it was kind of hard doing everything yourself, like setting the lights up and stuff like that. And the speakers we had like those huge community speakers, which were like a ton each.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they weren't even earthquakes, but like they weren't Cerwin Vega earthquakes, but they had like the double 15-inch like woofers in each one of them, and they weighed like 150 pounds each or something. Man, yeah, those were still heavy.
Awesome. So, oh, go ahead. Were you gonna say add something?
I was gonna say you guys had that, but you guys didn't have the earthquakes like we
Yeah,
did.
yeah, those. Yeah.
I don't think we could
did.
afford them.
No, yeah, not. We did not have a wall. We did not have a wall of speakers. Yeah.
True story, true story. Back then, we had borrowed a pair of earthquakes to do to a gig, and we were on our way back to return them. And I actually hooked them up to a car amp in my van. And I was rolling down the street with a pair of earthquakes bumping in the back of my van. No joke. We
That
rigged
is
it to it.
sweet.
Yeah, it was dope.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
well, we had 6 Quakes and 4 V35s. That was our setup. So, yeah, and they were heavy.
Yeah. For those of you in the audience who don't know what we're talking about, Cerwin Vega was a speaker company. I think the name still exists, but back then, Cerwin Vega speakers, they're just big subwoofers. On some of those photos, you see like people have like a whole wall of them, like 8 of them stacked up on top of each other. The badass DJ crews, like in the day, they had like whole walls of Cerwin Vega earthquakes, man. We were just a crew starting out, like in the 90s. We did not have such technology, but you guys, man, you had earthquakes. Like people were hiring you guys.
So during that time, there was AA Productions, there was Imagine, Just for Fun, whole bunch of showcases and stuff like that. There you go, right there. So, question.
Man.
Question for you guys.
Damn.
Yeah, and we'll talk. Yeah, don't worry, Pone. We're gonna bring that up. So, for you, Anthony and Rue, did you guys participate in any of these showcases? Did you guys battle?
I actually did not participate in the showcase. I went to them and I helped promote them, but I never made it big enough to be on their card. But I did get the acknowledgments on the flyers, which was, back then it was dope. If you got acknowledged on that flyer, you were like, oh shit, okay, we made it. But
Yeah.
I mean, it didn't matter if you were on the showcase or you're performing or anything like that. If your name was on that flyer or your group's name was on that flyer, you made it somewhere. So yeah, I mean, I myself never battled in it or participated in any of the showcases, but this man might
Wait,
be able to
Yeah.
do it.
hold on. No, wait, real quick. Before we go to Anthony, you did mention a couple. They were local ones. You can
They
mention
were,
those
there
ones.
were, there
Go
were.
ahead, you can talk about those ones. And how'd you guys do?
So back then, when as creative exposure, I did participate in one battle here in Vallejo. It was at the Filipino Community Center, and we went up against Mystic Rhythms, and with our little rinky-dink system, we got our ass whooped.
That's why you didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I didn't really, and shout out to my boy Derek B. I hate to put him on Front Street, but back in the day when you were like in battles and stuff like that, you had to write your pitch numbers down on your turntables, so you knew exactly, especially if you were quick mixing. So me and him, we were doing a 4 turntable set, and we didn't have enough lighting in there to read our numbers, but like I said, I'm sorry, DB. I'm sorry, Derek B, for putting you on Front Street. He wrote his numbers in pink, so he was trying to read a piece of paper, and we had a full like half-hour set or 15. I forget how long it was, but we were gonna throw on like 40 songs in like 15 minutes, and we were all timed out and pitched out and stuff like that. So right in the middle of our set, he goes from his 5th song to his 10th song, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And this wasn't MP3s back in the day. It was records. So he went into the 10th song, and I'm like looking through my stack, like, what am I supposed to do now, right? And man, I tell you what, Mystic Rhythms whooped our ass that day. But yeah, that was one of them. And then another one that I did, it was when I kind of went about it more in a business sense. I hooked up with Mike Mustajo and RSM Productions. We used to own a store. We used to be a DJ agent. We managed like 30 DJs. We also sold vinyl and DJ equipment and stuff like that. We got into a battle over at California Maritime Academy, and I believe Club 5 was there, and the big name was MC Fly Productions, and we ended up eking out a win against MC Fly Productions with protests from MC Fly because he thought that it was rigged and stuff like that. But yeah, back in the day, those were the two main battles that I participated in myself. They were local, but you know, it was cool. It was fun.
Did you get accused of playing a tape during your mix?
No, I didn't get accused of that. It was just more. He felt that MC Fly Productions thought that his mix was more solid and his sound and lighting was more solid than ours was.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Well-
So back then, for people who don't know, you guys were judged on presentation, not just the mixing, right? It's the presentation, the lighting, and all that stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yep, everything.
Yeah. Okay, Anthony?
Yeah. So, yeah, I do have battle scars. I was in a lot of showcases. I was in Imagine 4. We went up against the best crew in San Francisco, which was at that time Ultimate Creations, Gary, Jeannie G. They were like the hottest crew in San Francisco. And I guess we were supposed to be the top crew in Daly City. I don't know how we did that, but and then it was a lot of sounds from Oakland. We were more focused on Ultimate Creations because, like I said, they were the target. They were they were at the top, and they always came in like theirs was always perfect. Their setup's always perfect, nice, clean, simple, and sounded good, looked good, everything. It was pretty crazy. We set up a boombox, so we were inside the cassette tape area. So that's where the DJ part was, and then we had our speakers, where the speakers would be on the boombox, and then above would be the handle, and we had all our pin spots and moving heads and stuff on the truss going across, so it looked like the handle of the boombox. And this is where we had the stage 12 or 16 Quakes right in front of the boombox. That was our stage where we had our beatbox. Oscar, man, I miss that guy. He started off the set with doing a beatbox thing. That was kind of big back then. It was pretty crazy. So we did win that Imagine 4 one. And like Rue said, when you win those battles and go to the showcases and stuff and people see your name, it helped out a lot, and everybody wanted to hire you for all this stuff. There was one battle that I wasn't really planning on entering. It was Pinnacle. It was a Chinese group in San Francisco. And so they invited us to battle against other Chinese DJs. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. So we didn't really know any of them. So we show up at this gig. And when we get there, it's like construction zone. You hear like hammers going and saw blades going and people hammering, and you see 2x4s coming in and big pieces of wood. And these Chinese DJs, they were big into the lights and making a big production. And we're like, oh my God. I was like thinking maybe we should just turn around and go home and, just disappear. But the crew said, nah, let's stick it out. Let's see what happens. So, we stuck it out, and we watched the first DJ come on, and, we were basically surrounded by lights, all around us. There was like, I think three other. So each group had a wall. So there's 4 of us, and they pretty much surrounded us with their lighting show. So I think that's what they were big into, was the light show, because when he started playing the music, they would pretty much play one song and kind of wait till the end and then just throw in the song. So they weren't mixing. So we come on, and I think we were 3rd or 4th, and then we were doing the nonstop mixing stuff. So I was able to build the floor, and of course we did a crazy beginning. We did flash powder and stuff. I remember, you know, that was kind of dangerous back then. I don't know how we didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah, these low heat
Sweet.
sparks ain't got nothing on that flash powder stuff.
Oh my God. And, yeah, and you would pick it up from the magic shop, and this flash powder, man, I remember I said, let's just use all of it because it's a big gym, you know, or it's a big hall. And that was a bad idea. But, you know, you just see this it was like a big explosion, and it just poof, you know, and you see this white smoke. And there's a good thing that there wasn't smoke alarms back then, because, you know, it'd be going off all day long. But anyway, yeah, so we did that. And then, like you said, you know, I think the first song was some cha-cha song. What is that cha-cha song? The other one. Miguel.
Oh,
Miguel.
yeah. So many men, so
many
little
men.
time.
So yeah, I started out with that, and then, you know, and there was a few Filipinos there, but it was majority Chinese. And like I said, they just started dancing, and we just kept building up the crowd and building it up, and they wouldn't leave the floor, because when the Chinese DJs were playing, they would, like I said, they would let the song end, so it would clear the floor pretty much, you know. So they just come back and forth, where we just started doing the nonstop music, and they just stayed on the floor, and everybody was just staying there through the whole set. And by the end of our set, the floor was packed and everybody was going crazy. And so that's how we ended up winning that one. And then they did invite us back again the next year, and we also won that one. And then they invited us a third time. I said, no, that's it, because we barely won the second one, because they figured it out, and they started blending, you know, they started mixing like we did too. So I said, okay, that's it.
When we started out, we're talking about the early 90s here. We weren't at the level where people would invite us to showcase, except for if it was that one house showcase that we did that got broken up by the cops. But I mean, we did check out DJ competitions and stuff. We were kind of like at the tail end of all that in like the early 90s. But you were showing the video to, or you might be showing the video to one of them. I think the first one I went to,
92.
Summer of 92. Yeah, that's a very important summer. DJ Extravaganza in Santa Clara. My older sister like took me and one of our other crewmates, Mars, to this big event. It got promoted all over the Bay Area. We even heard of it up in Fairfield. So we decided to go check this thing out. Man, we were just blown away. It had a showcase mobile DJ crew battle, and it also had solo scratch battle as well, like 2 events in one. This event, which happened in summer of 1992, I don't know if it was one of the last DJ showcases of kind of like the time. I don't remember really there being anything as big as this after we saw it, man. And a lot of sounds from Oakland. They won the showcase, and you see it right there. Talk about presentation, man. They had their DJ come up on a scissor lift. So the DJ rose 15 feet above the crowd with their DJ set up there, and that was crazy. And if you were there with like the spinning lights and everything, and like the wall of, you know, of earthquake sounds like producing the sound, and if you were just a teenager watching that thing, that was like fucking amazing, dude.
I was not there, but I can just imagine how many guys were standing in the back holding them cords so they would not disconnect.
All those helicopter lights.
Yeah, I mean, no, just the cords from the turntable or from the mixer and stuff like that. I'm just like wondering how many people were in there like, okay, keep it going. Slide it up, slide it up, slide it up.
But this platform, this scissor lift platform just elevated like to start the set off. This was at Santa Clara. I think it was the basketball gymnasium for Santa Clara University, if I'm not mistaken. Just big old gym. A lot of sounds. They won this competition in 1992. I would have to say this was like one of the formative influences when I started out DJing. I wanted to be a badass DJ like them, man.
Yeah, shout out to Pete from Lot of Sounds.
I'm telling you, we got away with a lot of stuff back then that there's no way you could do today.
Like you got a permit. You got a permit for that lift. Yeah.
I'm trying to remember who the DJs were. There was one that me and Derek B went to. I believe it was at DVC, and I know one of the groups that was there was 3D Sounds, and I think they were battling Genie G back then, and something similar to the scissor lift, but it wasn't. They were basically on like 8-foot tall stages that were built, stacked on top of each other. and it was crazy. Then and yeah, that's the only other. I can't remember which event that was, but I know I believe it was a DVC where it was 3D, Genie G, and then one other group was battling it out.
There was one battle I was in at, man, I don't know if you guys know St. Augustine Church in Westboro. There was a lot of battles there, and it's crazy that you know it was a youth adult group of St. Augustine Church, and I think we battled Fusion there, Ken Anlin, and he's a pretty good guy there too. He's still doing it right now. And I think he's getting his son's doing it as well. So he's passing it on, and I tried to pass it on to my kids, but now they'd rather play video games.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
Me
my
too.
kid's not having it either.
Yeah,
I
so,
tried to. Go ahead.
Oh, good. So
No,
let's talk. Go ahead.
I tried to convince my daughters that they would make more money as a DJ than myself because of the fact that they're girls, but they weren't having it. They still just wanted to do their thing. So yeah, tried to pass it on.
You know, it's an interesting common theme I've noticed, at least with a lot of the DJs I've talked to, is a lot of them trying to pass it on to their kids, and none of them are having it, or even like nieces or nephews. It's interesting.
What
Yeah.
what do you think like the motivation was? Because like I'm listening to you know
Girls.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Being
It was
popular.
girls. Yeah, being popular, just people knowing your name, and you'd be like, you know, oh, did you get that mixtape from so and so? You know, that's what you wanted to hear back then. It was, you know, before social media even happened and stuff like that. You got your mixtape around, and people heard your mixtape, and you're just like, oh, really? My mixtape made it all the way out to Fremont? Okay, cool. You know.
Yeah, put it this way, it was like, well, once you won the battle and like you were pretty known, it felt like you were a rock star. Like, you know, when you go to a place like Ceremony or something, people would be looking at you and they know who you were, you know, especially at parties. You know, back then, like DJs would wear their crew jackets, you know, like you go to a party and you'd put yours on, and it'd be like, you know, some rinky-dink DJ group like Ruse or something, and we showed up there, and the beats would start skipping and stuff. So it was hilarious. But no, I'm just kidding, Rue.
No, it's all good. No, here's a true story. Me and Derek B, we were back then, you know, everybody knew about Qbert, you know, the whole lifestyle productions and stuff like that before he became the Qbert that he is now. We were actually at Solano Mall, just, you know, hanging out, looking for girls and stuff like that. And we're walking down from, I think it was most of you guys know this, the JCPenney side going towards Macy's, right? So we were walking down that way, and there was this Filipino dude walking back towards us, right? And all of a sudden he stops us and he's like, hey, aren't you guys Creative Exposure? And I was like, yeah. He goes, hey, what's going on? He goes, I'm Rich. And I'm like, oh. He goes, Qbert. And I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, shit. Really? You know, I'm looking around like, nah, for real? He knew who we were and stuff like that. And yeah, the true story, we ran into Qbert at Solano Mall, and he shouted us out, and he was just like, yeah, man. He goes, I heard about you guys. And I was like, oh, wow. You know, and back then that was big when other crews and stuff like that knew who you were before you guys even met and stuff like that. You were just like, oh, shit. Okay, I'm there, you know.
So let's talk about you know, for a lot of people who don't know, obviously now with DJing you have cue points and all that stuff, and let's talk about like how you guys prepared for battles, or I guess mainly specifically you, Anthony, since you were the one who specifically participated in battles, and how you prepared for it, and you know how long it took, and just everything, you know, like the whole process.
Well, it took usually we had like a couple months to prepare. And once we knew the date, once everything was confirmed, like from there on, like we were practicing pretty much every day. So first, you know, you got to put the routine together. You know, it was Apollo and me, and basically, yeah, you had to BPM all your records, and you had to like have it set already. You already knew what you were gonna play, so you didn't just freestyle it. You already had a whole set that you knew what was gonna happen. You had your, you know, the big thing was the introduction, you know, the intro. You know, everybody used something different in the beginning, and you know, to get the crowd hype, because like You know, that was the weird thing. Like when you did battles, like the first maybe 15 minutes, everybody's just watching you. So it's like, you know, you're like, come on, dance, you know, start dancing. And it's like everybody just keeps watching what you're doing. And so you've got to have a nice big introduction, you know, with the flash, like I said, the flash and the smoke and all that good stuff. But it got pretty crazy. You know, it got pretty crazy.
Did you want to also talk? I mean, like obviously, you know, yeah, you have to do the BPMs and all that stuff, but you know, like the marking of the stickers and all that stuff, and just like having someone holding the records for you while you're kind of grabbing them and.
Yeah, well, actually, I remember for Imagine 4, like I said, we practiced like almost every day at Apollo's house, and then that beatbox that we made, it was about 12 feet high and about maybe 16 feet wide. So we had a tag artist. He was working on that beatbox like for like 2 days straight. Like he didn't even sleep. He was painting it in my garage, and he was painting it. Each panel was like a 4x8. So that took like a couple of days to put together. But yeah, you kind of plan it way ahead. As soon as we knew the date, we all just, we did a meeting like every couple days, and we planned it out. What are we gonna do for the set? What are we gonna do for the lights? And back then, that's when everybody borrowed equipment. And we borrowed Hassan, DJ Hassan from Bumpin' Sounds. That's where we got the Quakes from. We got some of the Quakes. But we had most of the lights, but yeah, we did borrow some speakers. So back then, a lot of DJ crews would chip in and, help out their buddies. But that was another thing too, is you had to coordinate with all the other DJs. You had to make sure that all the equipment was ready. And I remember the day of, we did rent a big fat U-Haul, and we did fill it up with all the equipment. So there is a lot of planning into it. And it's kind of crazy because, like, you have these teenagers and they're running it like, it's like running a corporation or a business.
Yep.
So you got to do a lot of planning in advance, and like you said, the records, yeah, you have to BPM them all out, and you really got to have to mark, where you're mixing it in and out of. And yeah, you did have, somebody holding your records. And you did have somebody running, you had like Rue said, everybody had something to do. Everybody had their job. So usually it's the beginning where everybody's setting up, everybody knew what they had to do. So you come in, usually it took I think it took us like 3 or 4 hours just to set that stuff up. Yeah. It's crazy. Battles were crazy. It gave me a headache every day until the battle was over. It was pretty stressful.
And there was a time limit. Yeah, it was like 15 minutes.
Usually the sets were anywhere from like 30 to 45 minutes. Oh, wow. And you would try to cram in, and you would just go straight for the hype stuff, to get everybody on the floor, get them dancing. But like I said, the first 5-10 minutes, they're just watching you. They want to see what you're doing. They want to see your introduction, and you start mixing it. And like I said, we had Apollo back then. He was doing the scratching. And we had our beatboxer. He opened up for us. And we had our rappers. We had Jimmy and my brother Bernie. So yeah, we had the whole crew. Everybody had something to do, and it was planned way in advance, and everybody knew what they had to do.
Wait, hold up. So you guys had beatboxers and rappers too?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You guys are
Beatboxers
full-on show. Wow. Okay, go ahead.
It was a full-on show. Some of them even had dancers, like backup dancers, doing dance routines as you're mixing your set.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was dancers. The beatbox was pretty cool because like our beatboxer, it's like when he was doing his set, it's like he was mixing with his beatboxing. So, I remember he was doing like Debbie Deb into some other song, and you could hear it. He'd do all the whole thing, and he would be scratching too. And then we'd have our rapper come in, and he would start, and then, then the beats would come in with Apollo, and it was just it was synchronized. And the weird thing is, like, all this stuff would be in pieces. So it wouldn't really come together till the day of the battle. Like like I said, the big giant box, we didn't know how it was gonna look like. We just trusted the artist that was doing our box. So because he couldn't paint the whole box, it was so big. Like because he was painting my garage, so he can only paint one panel at a time. So he'd paint a panel, and then we put it up just to the side. And then when we got there, like I said, we had all these panels we had to put up, and it was pretty scary because like the panel, if anybody from behind pushed it over, the whole thing would have fell over onto the crowd. That's how crazy it was. Because all we had was 2x4s like an L shape in the back, so it wouldn't fall backwards.
Yeah.
And then like our truss, oh man, we maxed it out. We went past, there's a red line on the truss or on the tripod. There's a red line where you can't pass. We passed that red line, and then so we actually had to tie it down because there's a second level upstairs. So we had to tie our truss down to make sure it didn't fall forward or backwards. So we were still doing safety stuff, but OSHA would not approve.
Yeah, OSHA. This was not OSHA approved.
No. But yeah, no. Like I said, there was some preparation, but a lot of it just all came together the day of. And it's just, you have this vision, and it's weird because it just all of a sudden it just materializes before your eyes. At the battle, wow. and it was crazy. And then, I lived off the energy from the crowd. That's what I always loved. Like when I'm DJing, that's what I feed off of. And the battles, it's like, it's a whole nother level. Mm-hmm. It's like I said, it's like you're at a rock concert, and you just open up and people are screaming and yelling and going crazy.
One showcase that I did go to just a couple years ago, shout out to Pat De La Cruz. He put together an Imagine reunion, and that was pretty dope. He threw like 2 of those Imagine reunions. I went to the second one, and I got to see Jeannie G. Anthony was there. I think Burton Kong was there.
Legion of Boom.
Yeah, Legion of Boom was there. It was dope. Pat even spun, I think, and yeah, it was crazy.
So I know for you, Rue, you went into the club circuit. Anthony, did you go into the club circuit? And if you guys want to talk about when you guys hopped on the club circuit.
I did. Man, I was in like Space Odyssey 2000 on Union Street or something like. Man, I did this club in Sausalito called Danson's, and it was mostly like a white crowd, and it was touristy crowd. So, and I did throughout the years. I've done like DV8, Rouge. Well, it was like Johnny Loves before. Club Envy in the city. And I spun with somebody at Club Mirage a long time ago.
Yeah, for me, it was more local bars. And I know you guys are probably going to laugh, but I was pretty much the DJ for an exotic dance crew who performed at like major clubs and did appearances for like 94.9 and stuff like that for ladies only. So I got to play in a couple of the major clubs, City Nights, DV8, Sound Factory, some of the big bars out in the city like Glass Cat. They used to have, a male exotic dance review show with some go-go dancers. But yeah, so basically wherever they went, they took me along with them and stuff like that. So I did my little
male review.
Yeah, and you know what? Don't laugh, because I'll be honest with you guys. I would rather play for a male exotic dance review than a female strip club. Ask me why. Go ahead, ask me why.
Why?
Why?
Because other than the male strippers, you were the only guy in that place. So basically, you had pretty much pickings of all the women up in there until they let the guys in. So during the male show and stuff like that, hey, you know what? Buy me a drink, girl. Hey, come, let me holler at you real quick. No, for real though. But I'm just being real with you guys. DJing for a male exotic dance review was probably the best times that I've had, and don't even trip. It's a job. You get used to seeing the guys dancing and stuff like that, and you get to know their routine. You get to put together your own little mix for their routines. That was my little tour of the clubs out in San Francisco, Oakland, all that good stuff. But yeah, other than that, I mean, just local bars and stuff like that. Those were fun in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s and stuff like that. I think a lot of you guys that are here know that experience, just getting into a bar atmosphere, or holding down a little so to say nightclub or stuff like that. That was fun.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't as lucky as Rue, but I got to work in the strip club. It was called Club Ante down in San Mateo. I spun there several times, and I liked it. It was fun because you got to meet the girls. I guess there was less girls than what Rue saw. But I liked it. It was pretty fun, and you just played just the janky music, and You know, it was crazy. But the one I liked was like I DJ'd for this guy Chemo Passion. He would do these fashion show auctions, and he would do this like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So that was my Wednesday, Thursday, Friday gig. And we'd go around to like different clubs, and he would hold these fashion auctions. These nice girls. They'd have like 10 girls. They'd walk out, and people would start bidding on the clothes, and he'd have people in the crowd that he would know that automatically bid it up. So it was a scam. So, but hey, I was getting paid. It was my weekly gig, and he would sell these clothes, and it was pretty cool because it was crazy, but it was nice because I had like 10 models all around me all the time, and we would do this intro where I'd put on a song and we'd all walk in together, and it was pretty cool. I always tell my wife about it, and she never believes me that it happened. So I tell a lot of these stories to my wife, and she always says, "Yeah, all right, it didn't happen."
I actually took my wife on one of our first dates to go meet the guys that I worked for. Come on, let me introduce you to some of the guys. And she was like, no, I don't want this and that. And yeah, it was, I brought her along with me, and she got to know some of the guys and stuff like that. It was cool. She was like, okay. She goes, this was in your past. Let's keep it that way now.
We weren't lucky enough to do male review, unfortunately. But we, again, the whole timeline of this thing, we were just starting out in the 90s, and our heyday was like in the late 90s, going into the 2000s and stuff. By the mid 90s, going back to DJ battles, I entered my first DJ battle in the mid 90s. And I'm not sure if that's kind of what the crew DJ battles morphed into, like just these solo, just turntablist battles, but that's what I was totally into. And going into the 90s, I was full on into that. By the time we hit the 2000s, like Neo and I, we were spinning clubs and stuff as well. Neo, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, just I think it was I had started going to college at Cal State Hayward, now Cal State East Bay, and then me and a couple friends, Ben, DJ Boogie Brown, and Eileen, she goes by DJ Logic, up in Seattle now, and yeah, we formed a crew called the Formula, and we started doing clubs, started throwing our own parties first of all, like rad parties and stuff for people leaving Cal State and everything, and so we did like Snowdrift and what was it? I forget the first venue for a party we called Body Rock. We had like a 7-year party or 6-year party called Body Rock.
I'm forgetting the name.
Yeah, Bill Street Bar and Grill. There you go. But yeah, so we started doing those. Started getting booked and did like Mission Rock. Did a foam party over there, which is pretty interesting. And then just started getting known in the scene, started networking, and had the pleasure of working with some of the greats in the 2000s, and booking some of them. We got to the point, I think, where me, Pone, and our crew, Can Beats, and with our other crews, our friends, the Formula and Amazing Zoo crew, we started, flying up some DJs. So we had Pam the Funkstress as our guest, rest in peace. And we also had, we flew up Icy Ice, Mellow D from the Beat Junkies, D Styles even, did a party rocking set, and local heroes like Pirate DJ Rolo, and of course, Triple Threat DJs, Shortcut or Vin Rock. Pilo, so yeah, but we were pretty busy in the club scene, the smaller clubs, not the huge clubs, but Milk Bar, what do you call it, Saluna, yeah, Club 6, that was our spot. So yeah, it's been a fun ride, and then just been DJing in Oakland since the scene migrated to Oakland, really staying busy.
Anyone else want to, Mike or Pone?
As far as I was mostly a battle DJ. That was my thing. I started DJing clubs and stuff in the 2000s, along with Neo Geo, but I was like the DMC, like kind of DJ, turntablist DJ.
Yeah, Pone took a different DJ path,
kind of alternate route.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah,
I think Mike had joined the military to serve the country, and then Pone went was busy with the battle scene. Were you going to say, Jr.?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah. If you guys want to, we did an in-depth interview actually with Pone a couple of weeks back, so you can look that up and talk about his, and you can hear about his battle career as well as his party animal rockstar career.
You make a movie out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so humble, so humble.
Actually, Jr., I have a I have an overall kind of question to ask, and maybe we should wait until Carrion Kid gets
Yeah.
back, but maybe Rue could start talking about it at the beginning.
What's up?
So I was talking about how that 1992 DJ Extravaganza, you know, I barely started DJing, and then I saw that thing, and that really influenced me. But that in 1992, that DJ Extravaganza in Santa Clara, that was like nothing else like that happened after that I know of, except for maybe that 1996 like agenda event, I think, which like had a bunch of, that was like the last like super DJ showcase. But what you Anthony and you Rue, you're talking about like this. It was like a dope battle scene, like crews battling each other, like, and that was before Neo Geo, MikeAwesome, and I even started DJing, man. So I guess my question is, I was lucky to catch like one of the last ones in '92, but what do you all think happened to that? Because they were awesome. Like, why didn't they keep going?
I got a quick answer to that.
Mark Bradford.
No, no. Let's not bring him into it. Although, yes, you know, rest in peace, Mark Bradford. He was the man of Imagine and stuff like that. I would say early 90s, mid 90s, stuff like that started falling off because of the fact that everybody got into individuality. There were hardly any more crews out there that wanted to represent as a crew. It was all about me. You know, I mean, I'm not discrediting it, but I mean, it is what it is. DMC, you know, that particular battle actually kind of took away from the mobile DJ scene battles because of the fact that it was one-on-one. It was individual versus individual. There was no more lights. There was no more setup. You would basically put on stage, show your shit. Now,
Exactly.
instead of, you know, and people would pay to go see that. And I mean, unfortunately, a lot of it was mostly dudes and other DJs and stuff like that, or, you know, real turntablists, fanatics and stuff like that would go see it. But I mean, if you watch some of the old DMC stuff, it wasn't really about turntable, or it wasn't about beat juggling. It was mixing and stuff like that, you know, the creativity and all that. So yeah, to me, that's what kind of killed the mobile DJ vibe and the mobile DJ battles and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know if Anthony agrees, but yeah, a lot of individualism did take away from the mobile DJ scene.
If you look at the older flyers, it's just all the crews' names. There's no individual person that's battling this crew, or this person is going to battle this person. It was always one DJ crew against another DJ crew. So there was no individuality. Like Rue was saying, I think it happened a little later because they put me on one and it was just me by myself, not the crew. He started doing like these things called special appearances. And you do got to give it up to Mark Bradford because he was the one that kind of started this whole thing. And he did kind of build the community for the Filipinos, and, you know, for a thing to get for every like Filipinos to get together. I think he was one of the ones that kind of pioneered it. And then along with Arlene too, with AA Productions. Yeah, it eventually turned into individuality, like Rue said. But in the beginning, it was all about the crew.
I think also what contributes to it is the mid 90s was also the evolution of dance crews like Housers and Breakers.
Yeah.
And they were doing their showcases. So that kind of pushed the DJ showcase out of the way. And then what happened after that was people got into cars and the car shows came. So that kind of also mixed in with DJs and also dance crews, but eventually it kind of drowned it out. So it's kind of like a trend of what people were into. It didn't really stop it. It just evolved into something else.
I actually tried to put together an old school DJ battle back in the 90s. Didn't go very far because I didn't have, like I said, or like you guys said, there was no more crews out there that wanted to participate. I mean, I was getting ready to try to find a sponsorship. I had people like really interested. Oliver Wang hit me up saying, if you ever get the chance to throw this battle, I'd like to be one of the judges or be there just to try to, bring this resurgence back into the mobile DJ scene and stuff like that. But I didn't have anybody, like I might have had maybe one or two actual groups that were interested, but it wasn't enough for me to put together something where I could put a resurgence back. But yeah, I tried, but there was no more groups back then.
Yeah, and I think everybody just kind of grew up, and everybody started doing their things. People took off for college, started working a regular job, and and I think it just didn't get passed down to the other, to younger generations. There were still some like SBC. They passed it down from generation to generation.
Spintronics is another one.
Yep, Spintronics, Mind Motion, Nonstop Boogie. Orlando, he's still doing it, but I know he doesn't DJ. He just rents out his equipment, and he has a bunch of other DJs that go out and rep for him. So, I think it just faded out because, like I said, we all grew up, got married, whatever, and it just faded off.
Yeah. So Mo Chillin actually mentions too. There were also the gangs and the fights. Did you guys have any experiences with that or anything?
I see Pone laughing.
Yeah, by the time the early 90s hit, if you all, I guess we got to provide some historical context for those who weren't around in the Bay Area or like around that in the early 90s. But I guess like the Filipino kind of gang scene was just like at an all-time high in the early 90s, man.
I thought it was all-time high in the 80s.
Oh, whoa. Okay, yeah, I guess I can't. I only knew of it in the 90s. I feel like, wow, this stuff is kind of crazy. But yeah, in the 80s too, huh?
Yeah, no. Well, you had gangs like I don't know if you heard of BNG and LVN. These were the Filipino gangs. Then you had the Chinese gangs. So there was, and you had the Cholos. Fogtown, Daly City. So they were out there, and yeah, I remember. Man, my brother's gonna get mad at me, but he got beat up at one of the dances. And back then it was cool because like they would just fight. It would just be fist fights. Mostly like you would hardly hear of any gun violence. It was just basically, you'd fight and next day you'd see each other and no big deal. It was over. But yeah, there was gangs, and pretty much I think that's the DJ scene saved a lot of guys from getting into gangs. Because I know a lot of friends that they were in the gangs, but then they started hanging out on the DJ crews, and it prevented them from going that route. So I think, the DJ scene was good for a lot of young Filipino men, back in 80s, maybe in the 90s. Like I said, I took off for the Air Force, late 80s. But then, I got back into it. I just couldn't. It's like a drug, DJing is just like a drug.
We're
it's an
still
addiction.
doing it. Yeah.
Yep, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
40 years. It's a long time.
Damn. In our time, I guess in the 90s, it's like RPB, TNP. They would just start shit at like our house parties and stuff. And part of the reason why our parties were getting broken up was because gang shit was like happening. The death of Canned Beats almost happened. We were at a house party and we were in the middle of a gang battle and our equipment just got trashed. And that might have been the end of Canned Beats, but we kept going. But
Yeah, one of the turntables literally got stabbed.
Someone like fucking stabbed one of my turntables. It's crazy. like
Bent the platter and everything.
Yeah. It's just like what? But so it's I guess that it's interesting to hear that influence like that was still around during the 80s. In my mind, it's just like it was the worst time in the 90s, and it almost forced us to stop DJing. But it's always been around.
Yeah, it's been around.
It's been around. It's been around.
Oh, going back to what Rue was saying, I think around that time too was when Qbert started coming up in the battles, right? A bulk of the mobile crews or the Asian crews in the Bay started saying, "Oh, what if I could do that? What if I could get into be an individual DJ and just get that shine. There are a lot of Filipinos, period. Hubert was like, you hear the analogy, he was like our Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Most def.
Yeah, no, that was a good point. But I'm certainly like I'm the product of that whole, like what it morphed into, like the whole individualism thing. That's me, DMC DJ, like right here. But Rue, thanks for pointing out that giving your point of view on that. I didn't realize that. I didn't see that kind of came out
basically
of
that. What brought me to that conclusion was when I tried to bring the resurgence back of actual DJ battles. And I was hitting people up and stuff like that, and they were commenting back, like they were basically trashing me. They're like, what group is out there still? We don't have a crew anymore. We don't set up 4 turntables or 6 Serwin Vegas and stuff like that. We don't do that no more. I mean, hence the birth of the bedroom DJs, I guess you can call it. But other than that, yeah, I mean, when I tried to bring the resurgence back, there was no more groups, and it was just like, it was crazy. And that's what brought me to the to thinking, oh, it's about individualism now. It's all about me. I'm trying to get myself out there instead of bringing my crew with me.
When we were talking about like what kind of contributed to the death of mobile DJ battles, I was trying to think of what I've seen through the years, just as a club DJ or whatnot. And there was, I think, the resurgence of DJs, because there was a time, Pone, you know this, like during the battle, with the battle DJs and the focus being on battle DJs, like it seemed like club DJing and definitely mobile DJing was like not really popular. You know what I mean? It wasn't really looked up upon, like like Carrion Kid and Rue were talking about. Like if you were a DJ back then, they were like, oh, you're the DJ. I know who that is. That's the guy who rocked the party, or whatever. But I mean, I think a big resurgence of DJs coming back in mainstream is Serato, digital DJing, basically. So that's where all the bedroom DJs come from, because you get a laptop, you get an MP3, you don't even have to buy vinyl anymore. And I think that's another wave of the DJ culture, and technology contributing to that. It's just been crazy to see, and now you see all the DJs on Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, but to me, it's more you guys, us, Anthony, my generation, Anthony's generation, you guys' generation. Serato was more of a blessing to us, so that way we don't have to carry those records. Mm-hmm. But as for some of these bedroom DJs that just DJ in their bedroom, trying to put together these dope mixes, trying to put them together in Acid, trying to put them together in Ableton and stuff like that, it's kind of cheating. And then when you put them in a live atmosphere, which all of us has been around, they don't know what to do. They can't step out of their little crate and their little box to take care of the crowd. You know what I mean? It's something that you can't teach. You have to be able to experience that stuff to wear. But yeah, like you said, Serato has really brought us, more options into putting our mixes together. You know what I mean?
That's true. And jumping on that, and something that JR and Neil 6, if you're still out there in the Twitch chat, that we started to talk about. The whole evolution, Serato bringing about the evolution of open format DJing, and with it, the Red Bull 3 style battle. Rue, you pointed out, like, with the DMC, the whole turntablism thing started to like, the DJ crowds devolved into, like, instead of being a party crowd with, like, actual women, it was just, like, dudes watching, like, I want to see that guy scratch.
Yeah.
DJ battle, the crowd for DJ battles, like, devolved into that. But with Serato and with the 3 style battle and open format DJing, you're kind of starting to see a reversal of that, going from DMC to 3 style and party rocking being a thing again. Serato has kind of helped that, I think.
It has. It's brought more creativity. I mean, you're gonna get your beat jugglers fans out there that want to just watch somebody juggle beats. And then you get your Red Bull crowd that wants that party atmosphere. But at the same token, they're not dancing. You know what I mean? I mean, you go to these Red Bull championships and stuff like that. They're just standing there watching and throwing, fist pumping and stuff like that. And it's still not that party atmosphere that we're all used to with the clubs, with the battles and stuff like that. Even the old school battles, you were judged on how you pack that dance floor and how you rock that dance floor too. That was part of the criteria. So yeah, I mean, it's changed to where people, it's more a viewing thing now, and the oh shit, look, this and that, But yeah, I mean, it's changed. It's changed. Like I said, you can't teach a bedroom DJ how to rock a crowd properly unless they're actually in that element.
Yeah, I think Twitch has definitely brought another lane, another evolution of DJing, especially with the pandemic. So it'll be interesting to see. There's some DJs that are really killing it on Twitch. So it'll be interesting to see how everything evolves from here, for sure.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to segue. So yeah, what do you guys think after this pandemic is over? Hopefully, what do you see? How is DJing gonna, I guess, move on or evolve, or what do you think is gonna happen? What are your theories?
I think it's just the individual DJs got, the DJ scene just got bigger. Twitch is just another avenue for DJs to come out. I mean, I'm not hating on the Twitch DJs. I'm glad that there's another generation coming in, because before COVID, like I'd ask like Neo Geo and Pone, like, dude, we're old. Like, who's gonna take over all this shit after we're done? Like, are we gonna still do this like we're 60? That has to be like another, like a generation after us. But since COVID happened, there's all these other DJs that came up. I mean, they may have been interested before, and Twitch just, they're in their own element, and they can perform. So I'm pretty happy that there's a bunch of other DJs out there. But when things open up again, I think there's going to be a split. There's going to be DJs who want to get back in the scene. Like, I know we want to get back to our gigs, and then probably have Twitch as a filler when we don't have our gigs. Like, I think it's what we're doing now. It's just, I don't know, maybe I'm being optimistic, but it's just a filler for us until we get back to our gigs.
I wholeheartedly believe that. I mean, me and Anthony were just talking about, when are we going to actually hang up our turntables? When are we going to actually hang up our controllers and DJing, mobile gigs and stuff like that? I see Twitch as a gateway for us to keep going if we decide to get out of the mobile DJ scene. I mean, come on, guys, really think about it. Getting paid $2,500 to DJ a wedding for 4 hours. I mean, it's kind of hard to step away. But then again, when you don't have a gig, or, because of this pandemic, I mean, shit, I'm looking at my payouts from Twitch, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, so it's in a month, but shit, I'm looking at it like, damn, I made $200 this month. I mean, it's not much, it's pennies and stuff like that to what we were making back when we were doing mobile DJ gigs. But I seen some of these other DJs get hype trains level 5 completed at 600% in less than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I know they're getting paid $3,000 to $4,000 a month just to DJ for like 3 hours every night or something like that, or just have a regular show. And this is like, I've seen this happen many a times to where, hype train, and they're not even playing a song. They're still talking on the microphone, talking about, oh, we're level 3, 84%. Thank you guys, this and that. And I'm just like, wow, how can I be down to make this much money off of you guys, off of my followers and this and that. But, like I said, Twitch right now, to me, it's keeping all of us sane because of the fact that we're so used to doing corporate parties. I mean, look, right now we should be at the height of our Christmas parties, right? Making $2,000 just to play for 4 hours for a company party where you don't even mix, but for an hour and a half because they're having dinner and hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that. I mean, really, really think about it. It's more of a filler to keep us sane because of the fact that we were so used to doing that stuff before this pandemic.
Yeah, I wonder now also if. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying. I was telling Rue, I've been trying to quit since like 80s, 88, 89. I've been trying to quit DJing. And
Sounds like a drug.
We're not gonna let you quit. We're not gonna let
I'm
you
like
quit.
a crack addict. And DJing.
Yeah, so that's that's actually a good way to segue into it too, because I think a lot of you guys, actually, maybe except for you, Neo, a lot of you guys got out of DJing, but then it called you guys back, right? So for each one of you, what called you guys back to DJing?
Well, I kind of got out of the scene because I joined the Marines, and also I started my family early, so most of my time was devoted to that. And then I kind of got back in when I had my shop. What was it, late 2000s, when I worked on my friend's car and he couldn't pay me, so he decided to give me his DJ equipment. I was like, what? Oh, cool. And that's how I really got back in, is when I got my own equipment back.
So I can pay you with DJ equipment to fix my Beamer, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. Now I
Your
know.
stuff,
Hey, Mike,
your stuff is top shelf, so I'll take it.
Mike, we're finally gonna get those earthquakes.
They're gone. They're
Have fun carrying those home, dude.
Earthquakes, dude.
I hope you got room. I hope you got room in your car for them earthquakes.
Amazing.
Oh
No,
man.
but for me, what brought me back was, it was part of my bio yesterday. I took a hiatus for a couple of years because, I mean, the scene got too fast for me. You know, doing the nightclubs and the bars and stuff like that. I was up all night, asleep during the day and stuff like that. So I was just like, man, it got too fast. So I took a hiatus, but during that hiatus, it was just like I felt empty. There was nothing, you know. I was like, shit, you know, well, what am I gonna do today, or what am I gonna do this weekend? So I mean, I got back into it. One, of course, because of the money, and number two is because I wanted to fill that void. Because, you know, hell, I started this back in '86, so, you know, I've been doing this the majority of my life. So let me fill that void and get back into it. And like Anthony, I've been trying to get out of the game for a minute, but it's just like, you know, it's like Scarface. You know, I try to get out, but they keep pulling me back in.
Yeah, that's how it is.
For me, I guess I never really wanted to get out of the scene. It was just external influences. I mean, going back to the discussion we had at the SIPnJAM a couple of weeks ago. I've always been DJing, always been scratching. But what changed my life was something external. You know, it was a girl. It was going to law school. And it was natural for me to come back after that hiatus. I never really wanted to give it up. Just had external influences coming in and taking priority. But I'm glad this could be a priority now. Yeah, again.
And so yeah, Anthony. So you kept saying you kept trying to quit since '88. What kept bringing you back?
Okay, well, in '88, like, you know, pretty much I was DJing like, you know, 5-6 days a week, and I was trying to go to college, CSM, College of San Mateo, alma mater, but you know, I was like, man, I don't know, I don't think I could do this the rest of my life. You know, I gotta do something, and I was going, like I said, I was trying to go to college at the same time, and it just wasn't working because, like, I wasn't looking forward to going to school. I was looking forward to the parties that was happening that weekend. So I was just planning for the gigs that's coming up, and just kind of putting aside the college stuff. So I'm like, okay, I got to do something here. So like Mike, I joined the Air Force, so I took off for 4 years. But like after they sent me to my first place, my first base was like this small town, like 24,000 people in Texas called Laughlin, and then and as soon as they shipped me there, probably like 3 months or 4 months after I got there, I drove back home. It took me like 24 hours to drive back to the Bay Area from Texas. I picked up my records and then brought it back to Texas. And then I applied for the local club there. And then so I started working there just because I missed doing it, you know. So I was in the Air Force and then still doing it. So, and then I got stationed up in Washington, Spokane, Washington. I did the same thing, you know, I was still DJing, but doing the Air Force thing. So I kind of was able to manage it, you know, not as bad as it was before, where it was just, that's all I did. You know, so again, you know, after I got out of the Air Force, I got a regular job and tried to stop it again, but it just pulls you back every time. Well, all it takes is like, you know, a friend to say, hey, you know, it's my, you know, 30th birthday, 40th birthday, whatever. And they can you DJ for me? Hey, you did my party, my 18th birthday, whatever. You know, it's my 30th birthday now. Can you DJ it? And it's like, it just pulls you back in. And, you know, it just takes, you just got to buy, like maybe spend a couple $100 on records and you're back in it, you know? And then with Serato, it totally like blew the scene where like you just download everything or you borrow it, you know, you get it from DJ Rue or something. He gives you the whole package on a hard drive, and you've got a whole, you know, crates and crates of records on the laptop. So that was one of the things that also pulled me back was Serato. Once that came back, it was like no stopping from there. It's like ever since Serato came back, it's like, you know, I've never stopped. You know, I've tried to stop, like I said, but you know, many times. I just told Rue right now, I think that's it after this COVID thing. You know, I've still got some weddings I still got to close out, but I'm trying to stop. But, you know, you always get that call from a friend, hey, you know, I want to do my party. And it's like, you get into that party and it's like, everybody's going crazy, having a good time. And you're like, oh man, I miss this stuff. And then all of a sudden, bam, you're back into it again. But then there's those parties like, oh my God, nobody will dance no matter what you do, no matter what you play. They won't get on the floor. And you're like, why am I doing this? And, you know, on the drive home, you know, you're lifting all the equipment all by yourself, you know, these 100-pound speakers, putting in the back of your van. And you're driving home. You're like, why am I still doing this? You know, I got to stop. And then the next party, you know, it's a hype party. Everybody's going crazy. And, you know, everybody's yelling your name, whatever. And you're like, oh man, I can't stop this. I got to keep going. So, like I said, it's just like a drug. You know, it's like you're addicted to DJing. That's all it is.
Especially if you get new gear, like new equipment, new speakers, new controller, something like that. You're like, oh fuck this, dude. I'm gonna rock this next party whether they dance or not.
New uplights.
Yeah, new. Hey, you know, uplight. Hey, the uplights are a thing. You're like, oh, I can charge more now for uplights.
Gig bar 2,
right? A gig bar 2 with the moving heads and stuff like that, or even better yet, oh, let me invest in a photo booth. You know what I mean? It's like you gonna offer this much, and you're gonna be like, oh, I can get this much more now. It's like, okay, maybe I won't quit. But I mean, in all true honesty, that goes for like mobile DJs doing corporate parties and weddings and stuff like that. But in all true honesty, I wouldn't want to go to a nightclub to go see a 55-year-old DJ. Or yeah, better yet, even a 48-year-old DJ like myself. Yeah, you know, I wasn't calling you out. I went way over.
I was calling wait, no, hey, I still do high school proms.
Hey, but
you know,
but that's what I'm talking about. It's like just the private gigs, the corporate gigs. And
you just put the hat on and the hoodie, and they don't know who you are,
right? You know,
they don't know I'm 55 or 60 or whatever. You know?
But even a bar, you know, who you know. Oh man, he looks pretty old up there. What does he know about new music and this and that? I mean, yeah, you get to prove them wrong and stuff like that, but still, it's like, you know,
that's the fun part, proving them wrong.
Yeah, the club scene and the bar scene. I think I'm done with that. I'm more mobile and corporate and stuff like that now.
That's where the money is.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely where the money is.
Yeah, the club gigs, you get what, 100 or 150, 200, you know, to spend a half hour, you know, or an hour set. But the nice thing is you show up with your backpack. You know, you get free drinks and stuff, and then you're done.
Yeah.
But the corporate gigs, where's the money at? Like,
yeah, you still owe me some drink tickets too.
I know.
Hey. Sometimes that club crowd is the same age you are these days.
It depends on where you're DJing at.
Where you're DJing at.
That's a good point, Mike.
But yeah, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because from what I've seen, a lot of the OG DJs, what happens is they all start mobile DJing, get in the club circuit, do the radio, and then they just come full circle, come back to the mobile. And I find that so interesting. And, you know, obviously, yeah, it becomes the money and all that stuff, but it's awesome. And yeah, so before we get going, we should probably wrap up. But because I just want to know, I think, just so people know, because it seems like, Mike, you know Anthony, and then it's like you guys all know each other, at least. You know, obviously this DJ, you know, the DJ circle being small, even within generations, so it's kind of awesome. So how do you guys know each other? How did you guys meet each other? I probably should have said that in the beginning.
I've known Anthony for a while. I don't remember when I met him.
Well, see, we
through MJ.
Yeah.
know.
Well, I think I think you guys came into our studio and did pictures. Well, see,
Yeah.
like my business is we had we did pictures, portrait studio and stuff. We set up in Vallejo, and I think that's how we met Mike and his wife. They started coming in doing pictures and stuff, and we just became friends. And then he opened up his shop, and then I had a BMW. I'd bring it to him and stuff. So I still have a BMW that needs work, so I gotta give him some lights. But yeah, no, that's how we met. And DJ
That
Rue.
uplighting.
Earthquakes.
Quakes.
Oh, yeah, I wish I still had those quakes.
Nothing left. Nothing left.
Neo
I like
really wants
everybody's
those
up-
quakes, man.
Anthony has a
You
good
never got him.
uplighting
You
set.
never got him.
No, and then Rue, I don't know, how did we meet?
We had kids that went to
Oh, that's
the
right. We
same
had kids
school,
at the same school,
same grade, graduated with each other.
and I never knew he DJ'd.
Neither did I. I didn't know he DJ'd either. So one day we just kind of seen each other at a function or something like that.
Yeah.
I believe, and he was doing the photography, and I think I was doing the DJ or something,
Yeah.
or something like that too. And we were just like, hey, we got kids that go to school together, and
I said, "Let me on there.
Yeah.
I'll show you a thing or two."
and I was like, who is this old fool? But from that point on, I mean, we became friends and stuff like that. As for you guys, this is pretty much the first time that I've actually talked to you guys. Even though we are from the same area, the 707 and stuff like that, I've heard of you guys and stuff like that, and I've seen you guys on Twitch and stuff like that. But other than that, I
I
mean,
thought you've met Mike before.
I might
You've
have.
seen at one
Yeah.
of our parties or something.
Yeah.
Mike was-
I know I met Mike before,
Yeah.
but as for everybody else, it's kind of like this is the first time actually seeing you guys face to face and talking to you guys and stuff like that, and it's a blessing to actually hook up with people, DJs, like you guys said earlier, us people over here in Solano County, we don't get as much recognition as some of the DJs out in the city or Oakland or wherever, somewhere over there. But yeah, I mean, we need to connect, and we need to let our voices be known, and get our names out and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is a blessing that I actually got to meet you guys today, because I've heard of you guys, I've watched you guys and stuff like that, and now it's like, cool, at least I know I can put a face to the name now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, likewise. Shout out to JR and Caesar Salad Productions for putting this together, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Right,
Yeah.
right,
I'm
right.
always happy
Shout out.
whenever there's 707 getting some shine. So yeah, for sure.
We'll be doing more of these, but yeah, shout out 707. Thank you guys all for coming. Real quick, everyone, make sure you follow all of these guys. You see it down here below. DJ Pone 89 Can Beats on Twitch. DJ MikeAwesome Can Beats on Twitch. DJ Anthony Carrion, that's actually on Instagram, I believe. DJ _Neo Geo, that's on Twitch. DJ Rue Hefner, that's on Twitch.
Anthony will be on
thank-
next week.
What?
Yeah,
I'm-
so
I'm
Anthony,
working
let us
on
know.
that. Hey guys,
Yeah.
I'm working on that. I'm working on him and Ray. I know
Yeah.
Ray's still in the chat, so yeah, I'm working on these two. So yeah, we'll
Ray.
get them on.
Ray, Henry, who else was in there? Eno, I
Orlando,
think.
Non-Stop Boogie,
Yeah. Yeah,
Unique
shout
Zeke.
out, man.
Pat. Yeah,
Thank-
Pat. Midstar. Yep. We'll try to get him out.
I'm also
Yeah,
working
definitely.
on some people from Rockalong too. So
Nice.
yeah,
Okay.
so we
John Loxa.
yeah, John Laxa, Mike Dominguez, and all them. So yeah,
Cool.
We're gonna
Awesome.
get Apollo on here too.
yeah, that's him.
Yeah,
That's
DJ Apollo. He was in my crew too. DJ Apollo.
Awesome.
Yo, shout out to Apollo and Triple Threat, man. I mean, besides being legends, I think those guys really helped get transition from the battle scene and scratching and beat juggling strictly into like party rocking. And I think Red Bull 3 Style really owes a lot to Triple Threat. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
yeah,
So, yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so everyone say thank you to everyone. Thank you to all our guests. Throw ones up in the chat for everyone. Please follow them. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Rue. Thank you, MikeAwesome. Thank you, Neo Geo. Thank you, Pone. It was awesome.
No problem.
It was great, man. Like this
Yeah,
is
this
a
was
little
fun.
yeah, it was a little impromptu, but definitely we should have more of these. Especially if you guys find footage, I would love to have playback and you guys like comment about it. It'd be kind of awesome to kind of be like, hey, what was your thought process during this moment, and what were you guys thinking and all that stuff. So before we go, because I'm just trying to set up a raid, if you guys want any last words, like kind of like what you're saying, MikeAwesome. If you guys want any words of advice for anyone or anyone trying to get off DJing, Anthony, you can, I think someone mentioned the first first thing to admitting you have a problem is admitting you have that problem. So
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
step first
shout
step
out
to
to
recovery.
DJs.
So do I. I've got that problem.
I think
So,
I'll be
yeah.
DJing till I'm dead.
Nice, love it.
If
In the blood.
If you want to quit DJing, don't talk to Anthony Carrion.
Yeah,
There you go.
right. He's the enabler.
Hey,
He's
that's how I pulled Ray for Midstar. That's how I got him back in, because like Serato came out, and then I told him, hey, look, it's so easy. You don't need to carry records anymore, and he got hooked. So he's in the game too.
So you get other junkies hooked.
So,
Yep,
exactly.
Yep, enabler. I told you, he's the enabler.
I don't think DJing is a problem more than trying to get it into your life at particular times. And I mean, let's face it, guys. I think Anthony, I think Rue would agree. So Mike and Neo Geo as well. We didn't start mobiling because we wanted to make money, dude. We didn't start DJing because we wanted to make money. It's because it's something that we really like to do. If it were for the money, dude, like we probably wouldn't be doing this anymore, man. Because it's so hard to get started, like those initial starting steps. So do what you love to do. Try to fit it into your life.
Yep.
And if you have to take a break, that's sometimes life forces you into a break. But just chill out, and it'll come back to you, man. Just chill out, it'll come back to you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think part of Can Beats doing mobile still is we actually stopped for a while and we got back in with it because we all wanted to DJ together too. So yeah, shout out to the people still representing their crews and everything, man. So yeah.